If you're thinking about buying a home in Rhode Island right now, there's probably one question sitting in the back of your mind. Is now actually a good time to buy, or should I wait? And honestly, that is not a silly question. It may be the most important question buyers are asking right now, because between home prices, interest rates, low inventory, bidding wars, inspections, closing costs, and the fear of making a mistake, buying a home right now can feel a little like trying to cross a busy street with your eyes half closed. You know you want to move forward. You just do not want to get hit. So in this video, I want to break down in plain English. No hype, no pressure, no buy now or miss out forever nonsense. Just a real conversation about whether now is the right time to buy a home in Rhode Island, and more importantly, how to know if it's the right time for you. My name is Jeff St. Germain with the St. Germain Real Estate Group, and I help buyers and sellers throughout Rhode Island make smart real estate decisions. And today, we are talking about the question I am hearing more and more. Should I buy now or should I wait? Before we get into it, do me a quick favor. Like, subscribe, and share this video with someone who is thinking about buying a home in Rhode Island, because this is the kind of conversation people need before they start looking at houses, not after they fall in love with one. Let's get into it. Part 1, why buyers are hesitating right now. Well, let's start with the obvious. Buyers are nervous, and I understand why. Prices in Rhode Island have not exactly become cheap. According to the Rhode Island Association of Realtors, the median sales price for existing single-family homes in April of 2026 was $529,000, which was up 10.2% from April of 2025. At the same time, listings increased, but sales were down from the year before. So what does that tell us? It tells us buyers are looking at the market and saying, I want to buy, but I am not sure I want to buy at these numbers. And that is completely understandable, because this is not just about the price of the house. It is about the payment. It is about the rate. It is about taxes. It is about insurance. It is about whether you still have money left over after the closing. And it is about whether you are going to wake up 6 months from now and say, did I just make a mistake? That is real fear. Most buyers are not just asking, can I buy? They are asking, can I buy without doing something financially foolish? And that is the right question. Part 2, waiting does not always mean winning. Now, let's talk about waiting, because a lot of buyers are saying, I think I'll wait until rates come down. And on the surface, that makes sense. As of early June 2026, Freddie Mac reported that average 30-year fixed-rate mortgages are at 6.48%, down slightly from the prior week and lower than the same time the year before. So yes, rates have moved around. And yes, if rates came down meaningfully, that could help buyers. But here is the part people sometimes miss. If rates go down, more buyers may come back into the market. And when more buyers come back into a market that already has limited inventory, what often happens? More competition, more multiple offers, less negotiation, and potentially higher prices. So waiting for a better rate could help your monthly payment, but if prices go up while you wait, or if you end up in a bidding war, the benefit may not be as big as you thought. That does not mean you should rush. It means you should not assume waiting automatically puts you in a stronger position. Sometimes waiting's help. Sometimes waiting helps. Sometimes waiting costs you. The key is knowing the difference. Part 3, the Rhode Island inventory problem. Here is the Rhode Island reality. We are a small state. We do not have unlimited land. We do not have unlimited housing. And in many price ranges, especially for well-located move-in ready homes, we still do not have enough inventory. Redfin reported that in April 2026, Rhode Island had about 3,134 homes for sale, slightly down year over year within roughly 2 months of supply. That is important. A balanced market is usually closer to 5 or 6 months of supply. So even though the market feels different than it did a few years ago, we are not suddenly swimming in houses. Buyers may have a little more breathing room in some situations, but the good homes, the well-priced homes, the home in the right neighborhood with the right conditions at the right number, those are still getting a lot of attention. So when someone says, I'm going to wait until the market crashes, my question is, what evidence do we have that Rhode Island has enough inventory to create that kind of crash? Right now, I do not see that. Could some overpriced homes sit? Absolutely. Could some sellers have to adjust? Yes. Could certain properties be negotiated? Well, definitely. But that is different from saying the entire Rhode Island market is going to fall apart. Part 4. So is now a good time to buy? Well, here is the honest answer. It depends. And I know that sounds like a typical real estate answer, but stay with me. It depends on 5 things: your budget, your timeline, your stability, your expectations, and the specific property. Not the national headlines, not your cousin's opinion, not a TikTok video from someone in Arizona, Florida, or Texas. Rhode Island is its own market. Your town matters. The price range matters. Your loan type matters. Your competition matters. And your life situation definitely matters. So instead of asking, is now a good time to buy? I think the better question is now a good time for me to buy the right home at the right payment with the right protections? That's a much better question. Because if the answer is yes, then this market may still offer opportunity. And if the answer is no, then waiting may be the smarter move. Part 5. Who should consider buying now? First, if you have a stable income and a comfortable payment range, you should at least be looking. Not necessarily buying tomorrow, but looking, because understanding the market costs you nothing. Second, if you plan to stay in the home for several years, buying may make more sense than trying to perfectly time the market. Real estate is usually not a 6-month decision, it's a life decision. A 5-year decision, a 10-year decision, a family decision. Third, if you're currently renting and your rent keeps climbing, it may be worth comparing your rent payment to a realistic mortgage payment. Not a fantasy payment, not the number you wish it was. A real payment including taxes, insurance, possible condo fees if applicable. Fourth, if you are flexible on location or condition, you may have more options. The buyer who says, I only want this one town, this one neighborhood, fully updated under market value, is going to have a hard time. But the buyer who says, here are my priorities, but I'm open to the right opportunity, has a much better chance. And fifth, if you are prepared, pre-approved, educated, and strategic, you are in a much better position than the buyer who's casually browsing online and hoping something magically appears. Hope is not a strategy. Preparation is. Part 6. Who should wait? Now, let's be equally honest. Some people should wait. If your job situation is unstable, waiting may be wise. If you do not have emergency savings, waiting may be wise. If the only way to buy is to stretch yourself so thin that one car repair creates a crisis, waiting may be wise. If you are trying to buy because you feel pressured, not because you're ready, waiting may be wise. And if you are not sure you will stay in the home long enough to justify the costs of buying and selling, you should slow down and run the numbers carefully. Buying a home is powerful, but buying the wrong home at the wrong payment for the wrong reason, that can create a lot of stress. And my job is not to talk you into buying. My job is to help you make a smart decision. Sometimes that means buy. Sometimes that means wait. Sometimes that means we prepare now so you are ready later. Number 7, the biggest mistake buyers make. Now, the biggest mistake I see buyers make right now is this. They try to time the market instead of preparing for the market. They spend months asking, will rates drop? Will prices fall? Will sellers get desperate? But they have not spoken to a lender. They do not know their real payment. They've not reviewed closing costs. They do not understand the difference between FHA conventional, VA, or Rhode Island housing program. They've not figured out what towns actually fit their budget. They have not talked through inspection contingencies or other strategies. So then when the right house comes up, they're just not ready. And in Rhode Island, not being ready can cost you the house. That is why the best buyers are not necessarily the richest buyers. They are the most prepared buyers. Part 8. What I would do if I were buying right now. If I were buying in Rhode Island right now, here's exactly what I would do. First, I would get fully pre-approved. Not just a quick online estimate. I would talk to a real lender and understand the payment at different purchase prices. Second, I would decide on my comfort payment. Not just what the bank says, but what I can afford, what I can actually live with. There is a difference. Third, I would pick my must-haves and my nice-to-haves, because in this market, clarity matters. Fourth, I would study the towns and neighborhoods where my budget is realistic, not where I wish my budget worked, where it actually works. Fifth, I would look for opportunity in homes that other buyers may overlook. Maybe it needs paint, or maybe the photos are terrible. Maybe the layout is just not perfect. Maybe it has been sitting because it was overpriced at first. That is where the strategy is. And six, I would never confuse urgency with panic. You can move quickly and still make a smart decision. Those are not opposites. Part 9. The truth about marry the house, date the rate. You've probably heard that phrase, marry the house, date the rate. And I understand what people mean by that. The idea is buy the house now, and if rates drop later, refinance. That can be true. But I want to be careful with that phrase because refinancing is not guaranteed. Rates may or may not drop. Your financial situation may change. Your home value may change. And refinancing does have costs. So I would not buy a home today based on the hope that tomorrow fixes the payment. Buy based on what works for today. If refinancing becomes an option later, wonderful. But it should be a bonus, not the plan that makes the purchase barely work. Part 10, the bottom line. So, is now a good time to buy a home in Rhode Island? Here is my honest answer. It is a good time to buy if the numbers work, the home fits your life, and you are prepared to make a smart decision. It is not a good time to buy if you are guessing, stretching, panicking, or hoping the future bails you out. The market is not easy, but easy and possible are two different things. There are still good homes, there are still good opportunities, there are still smart ways to structure offers, and there are still buyers making excellent decisions in this market. But they are not doing it casually, they are doing it with a plan. And that is really the message. Do not buy because someone tells you to buy. Do not wait because someone scares you into waiting. Get the facts. Know your numbers. Understand the market. And make the decision that fits your life. Because the goal is not just to buy a house. The goal is to buy the right house at the right number with the right protections and a payment you can actually live with. If you're thinking about buying a home in Rhode Island and you are trying to figure out whether now is the right time, I would be happy to help you walk through the numbers. No pressure, no sales pitch, just a real conversation about your options. You can comment home below, send me a message, or reach out directly, and I will help you understand what buying could realistically look like for you. And if you're a homeowner wondering what your home may be worth in this market, comment value, and I can help you with that too. Hey, again, my name is Jeff St. Germain with the St. Germain Real Estate Group. Thanks for watching. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who is trying to decide whether to buy now or wait. And remember, let's make your next move the right move.